I saw your profile. I don't think so. No. There's a little difference. But not the biggest difference is in not visibly, but the actual pressure of the
Okay.
that's kind of subsided about 30%. Which is really good. When you go back? Thursday.
Yonge. Yonge.
I'm glad that's over the line.
I wanted to, with my coins, I wanted to get one of these.
Gifts from Mama under $1,000 and free overnight delivery. David Hume and Jewelers in New York City. Lazy boy.
Hey, Mr. Yanos, what's going on? Cool, cool, cool. What are you up to? Ah, okay, cool, man. Well, look, hit me up later. I'm just chilling, working on some stuff. And, yeah, hit me up later when you're free or text me if you want to set something up.
The ones we buy are.
Cool, brother. Have a great day. Cheers. Bye.
So did you go playing on Friday night or no?
I fell asleep, but I
¿Qué pasa, padrone? Chilling, man. Just working on some stuff at Yale Cafe. I put some extra sweet stuff in my coffee, so you know, it's tasting yummy.
It's fine. I got there at 11, and I left at 1.
Ah.
You turn into a pumpkin after a certain age, right?
And there's an apex point, because you know the coffee's hot, and then it's cooled a bit to the point where it's a perfectly warm, and then you've got, you know, some sweet stuff in there, and you know there's only that perfectly warm plus the sweet stuff for so long because it's getting cooler, and the sweet stuff is probably settling a bit, and so yeah, there's that perfect storm that you kind of reach where you're like, you know, there's a bell curve. In that middle portion, you try and kind of maximize where you're sipping the coffee at its most flavorful for those different reasons. I am, just as a not necessarily an everyday outdoors coffee kind of guy now. I treat it more of a special treat, even though it's sort of an every second day thing. So, but so I'm not an everyday guy, believe me. But it's a special thing once in a while, like every second day. So, yeah, I'd be reasonable about these things, you know. But if I was an everyday guy, I'd probably be a little more disciplined about it.
Oh, they're doing drawings?
Exactly, within the letter of the law. Even if the spirit of the law is rolling over in its grave. Yes.
You got a shitload of people there, why would you find somebody?
I'm telling you, Randy, you wouldn't have one at any entry.
Right.
That's a club.
Yeah. But that's what it looks like a lot of them are doing. Young people today.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the standards are going down in some of those places, right? And I think that's part of the overall lack of civility, right? Like, you know, I think that if you or I had a garage, right, and we had customers coming in there spending, you know, hundreds or thousands of dollars, then I would assume that if we all got along great, it would naturally be cool to get solid to good to even great coffee. You know, you may not want people just hitting you up constantly for that because, you know, not like you know, some sort of crack coffee or Krispy Kreme type coffee, but on the higher end of things, just as part of your overall business vibe. Not like, we just get the cheapest stuff. You want it, it's free. It's like, So, you know, I think that's part of it.
And the main female role was Priscilla Presley
And Margaret.
and Margaret. I always got them confused.
I'll be right down.
They both have no talent.
Oh man, Margaret. I'll be right down. And the Elvis guy was Dick. He died a year ago.
Clark,
And it was
Right.
Maureen Stapleton, I think, was
yeah, she was good.
Baldwin's mother, right?
Dick Van Dyke. Dick Van Dyke.
And then there's Janet Lee, was in it. And the girl baseball, it was Dick Van Dyke. Cheetah Rivera, Paul Day. And the guy who was the Elvis character, Elvis.
You don't tell your computer to do that when it knows that I'm nearby. I'm offended.
I don't know who played Game
You don't teach your Google Home Mini to say, "Hey, bro, great to see you again," to me when I walk in. I'm gonna be offended. It's like, I always like that guy. Your Google Home Mini's the coolest, man. Oh, thanks, man. You really do care. That's what I'm saying. I think the standards are going up. I don't know why we need such high ones in that regard, but sure.
The red line was delayed by
half an hour.
Oh no, I taped it at
Right.
time shifter, so hopefully
okay.
it was fine.
We realized, so we put the next show on after it. So we're
I wanted to watch games.
Damn. You put a little more Clint Eastwood in that voice, and you really got something there. All you can think about is that turd. Damn, man.
Yeah, we shook the dick out and start taping the next show.
Why was it delayed?
Right.
Some of the things that
I can, the problem was I couldn't change yesterday's paper, but I can change
Right.
future one.
some sports,
There's new barbering capes.
basketball or baseball. That's usually what today's.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
60
Sunday?
minutes.
Sunday, it's golf.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, golf in the afternoon. And a lot of times it runs over.
I've never found them ill-fitting. My experiences with those folks have been few and far between more recently, but I'll say looking back, I always found that, yeah, sure, you kind of felt like, okay, this is a cool barbering cape. Yeah, nothing untoward, nothing especially flattering, but certainly they fit well and they did the job reasonably well. For if you try and do that stuff at home on your own, you realize, oh my God, how does that work? These things are pretty cool.
Just called me yesterday to let me know that 60 minutes was
No foul.
pretty interesting.
Sure.
That I should-
All right, hold on one sec. Let me pop in the earbuds for extended less brain cancer. One sec.
This
right.
Canadian throat singer up in,
Oh yeah.
Um,
and then they had another.
all right. Can you hear me now?
It's supposed to be with Common for people.
Ah, beautiful. Yeah, man. And this was at a shiny new dealership in a part of town that's growing. And you know, the part of town that's growing is growing in kind of a homogeneous cookie cutter way, as opposed to an organic neighborhood getting involved way, right? Like the housing developments are set up, and that's, you know, fine to some degree. Although it's kind of nice when the building happens less. It's less a large company buying a huge swath of land and making it all like that. It's more different companies doing it for a little bit more variety. You know what I mean?
I know. I think the whole thing is stupid.
So I believe there's a demo or something tonight at Church
Right.
of Wellesley.
For
I'll tell you.
Violence.
I'll read it because
Right.
I got an email from our favorite counselor. Counselor Warren.
Right.
On Tuesday, April 30th, two individuals
All right.
at the northwest corner of Church and Wellesley with amplified sound cameras to target the LGBTQ2S plus community with homophobic and transphobic harassment. This unacceptable act of hate escalated to a physical altercation that resulted
Yeah, no, it can certainly be tricky in that respect.
There you're saying old now.
On Monday, May 6th, 2019,
Oh, okay.
we invite the community to come together at the four corners of Church and Wellesley in response to this homophobic and transphobic hatred.
Right.
Sex shop, we will
Right.
walk briefly into the street to form a collective community
Right.
of and solidarity.
It's a demo.
And you can shrug your way into your headset working?
So that we can respond to the whole
Right.
when they return, as they have stated. She's working with police, fire
Okay.
city staff, and other entities to support the community. We're collaborating on identity.
Okay.
Incidents.
Violence of some kind, there was some attack. He's reading.
There's more, but that's the basic.
So
So,
who was attacked and where?
she doesn't say, but these two guys set up a church in Wells.
I wouldn't say it's unthinkable. I'd say it's thinkable. I think beyond that is where my brain has some issues, but it certainly is thinkable. I wouldn't say it's unthinkable.
One of our community had to go to the hospital, so they're now meeting tonight at the corner
Sure.
in response.
Was that about 2 weeks ago?
April 30th.
So it's thinkable. Thinkable, not unthinkable, thinkable. Okay, good enough. Yeah. In terms of doable, feasible, plannable, executable, I think all those things are sort of issues. But thinkable, absolutely. It's certainly thinkable. I think over your business. Well, it's thinkable. Everything else, I wouldn't waste the time, but certainly thinkable.
They're putting on this.
No. They were the ones.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, no, and with respect to that up there at that dealership, like I think maybe some of that growth and some of the resulting, the lack of communication around that growth and investment in that growth and development and kind of where you're living is contributing to a bit of that kind of blowback both ways, right? Less input, less output, less creativity, less this, less, connection to it, and through that connection to it, a connection to each other. So, I could see how they could make it kind of technically shiny, but also, practically less warm.
Oh no, the community has two meetings in Church and Wellesley. There's the geographic community, then there's the gay community. Things.
Any community.
Well, I think this is good.
I think so too. But
Well, it sounds like a whole bunch of people decided they didn't like what they were hearing and started beating on it. And they,
oh, I'm sure that's what happened.
But who is hosting this thing tonight?
Oh, Chris, I got that
Long
from.
time.
I got that from
Oh,
her.
God.
I'm not sure she's hosting it alone. I think I get emails from her office. Dear Keith.
Yes, the very first.
Well, she doesn't know we're showing up at the next
And
meeting.
I get ones, dear Peter.
Do you?
Yeah, I really, when people acknowledge me by name, I'm very flattered.
So are you saying, El Guapo, that is like he has a plethora of barbering capes that are like the Cadillac of automobiles?
Oh, it was.
I finally understand using old movie references. Otherwise you look a streaky.
assume if they don't realize this is going on for another 3 years.
I got an email from my member of parliament. And I don't know how I got an email. I've never signed up for anything political.
Right.
They probably go down, there's probably
Right.
some program that just goes down emails.
Voters list.
But the email, they must be able to find email addresses from.
Oh,
Wow.
it should be illegal. Unless you actually sign up, they shouldn't be sending you.
Well, I'm more concerned about this Chinese woman that keeps.
Well, that's apparently it's common. I was over at my parents on Sunday. The phone was ringing and they have Roger, so it shows the number. So I see 1-800, well, whatever it is.
Wow.
So I picked it up anyway, so just curious. And so as soon as they said hello, there was no pause. I was like, wait.
Well, we can block them on our cell phones.
Yeah, but they're
They'll use another number.
they just generated another number.
It's from the
Could be.
States.
You don't know, it could be quite sinister. It might be China reaching out to intimidate you.
Huawei forever. Anyway.
Sweet. Yeah, a nice carpet there is fine, but that's even crazier.
So I see where Trump is going to raise
Yes, that cafe, that diner there.
from China from 10%
Yeah.
to 25% on this coming Friday.
Okay.
Pretty more problems in the world economy.
More Canadians will be charged in that holding thing.
Yeah.
I think they should let that Huawei woman go, not because she might be guilty.
Because it's not worth suffering for the U.S.
So yeah, you do that, we're going to play ball.
Actually, that could be good for us.
Well, even when you're playing
Because we-
nice, it's not good because he says we're.
Right.
No, I'm saying he puts up the tariffs on China. China will start doing business with us instead of them.
Right.
Except we're being punished because of the Huawei. And the two guys currently in China, and the ones that have just been sentenced to death.
Yeah.
And then
What's
we have
behind that Chinese one? I don't know.
Just to go to the stock room. That's hilarious. Yeah.
I thought I should have said I've never been accused of having a charming smile, for I'm usually accused of being sort of
Scowling.
scowling. Yeah. What did you say his name was? Derek? I think his name is Derek.
He's the one who has nice shoes usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he always sort of looks and acknowledges, so I would smile.
It's hopefully a very cool thing to do. Absolutely. And for people that are higher level investors or tourists or celebrities, or if the place blows up and they want to take a tour of the place, it's just one more nice thing in a nice place. So, no, man. I think, how long has he been there?
I didn't understand what he said.
Okay.
That's why I asked him.
So it's still relatively new, but he's been there. He's settled. It's been a few years. So, I think to sort of really make it his, make it iconic. There's things that make places iconic, and so there's things that make places functional, and there's just things that make places iconic, and that would be another touch on that.
Pants are painted on.
His whole clothes were.
Well, the jumbo was
Right.
easy too.
I got the jumbo. I got the jumbo several days now. got the one branch manager way back.
People still buying lots of clothes and things.
Saturdays.
Yeah, for
Climbing the wall.
Yeah, I got that.
picking up clothes, returning clothes,
Thank you.
picking up clothes.
Thank you.
So we're getting, did you see the thing from Second Cup? We're getting extra points for buying, we buy 3 times this week or something.
Okay.
That was on an early email
Yeah.
that I read that mean.
I don't know. What did you hear? What did you read?
No, that you
Okay.
visit 3 times this week and earn 150 bonus points.
Ooh. What do you have to do? Buy $10?
Buy something 3 times, 3 different times, I guess.
Right.
But not for us. Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
There you go.
Life is beautiful. That envelope was addressed to me apparently because I got the email. You didn't get it.
Oh, okay, so maybe it is.
Oh yeah, he spends most of his time there. He should trick it out. I mean, if he had a pool table and a bar and a coffee bar and a little place where, you know, that had a little kitchen so they could whip stuff up. You know, if they had great, you know, storage space and possibly a veranda to kind of head up top and smoke and have a drink or whatever. Like, you know, absolutely, man. I mean, trick it out. Why not? I have.
So I'm thinking of buying an air conditioner off Amazon.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, I've heard of Amazon.
I'm just sort of wary about delivery.
Oh, you're worried about the what?
Delivery.
Let me tell you, I'm increasingly comfortable in moving comfortably, you know, despite some uncomfortable stuff.
To let them know that they were coming up. They delivered it to the wrong apartment.
Yeah, well, basically, I'm sort of settled. So, for example, last couple of days, Saturday, I was at a Patriot rally, and there was a bunch of Antifa people on the other side there, and I have on video sort of chilling out, kind of both sides to some degree, plus a bunch of cops in the middle, right? And then that peer pressure kind of spreading to the point where there was a lot less stupid people going back and forth, or people acting stupid going back and forth with each other. More sort of people not doing that with each other and connecting well, and not doing that with, you know, other people associated with other groups and kind of connecting well. And so that's, you know, over 100 people in Toronto. And I made the point, and was saying it and sort of filming it, that you won't find a group of people in Toronto, 100 people together, that are chilling out like this. And so if polite patriots can, or patriots can save polite Canadians who can speak up and save Canada, then we're good to go. So I'm increasingly happy with the math and the results and what's manifested. I'm sort of finishing the walkumentary on it. And with respect to the walkumentary and what's going on, I'll say, here's your proof within a couple of days span. And then from there, it's just more incontrovertible than it's ever been and useful. And so for those who speak proudly in favor of you know, what's going on, yay. Those who speak against, nay. And otherwise, you know, just do your thing. So I think it's sort of established at this point, and it's a good option to have, because my attitude is, can't help it, no problem. Hope they can at some point. It'd be a nice thing to be able to control in general, and that's that.
Concierge refusing. I keep telling you, it's Canada Post.
Saying that they won't
believe
accept
it.
it.
Hopefully soon. Keep it moving. It's all good.
That's strange, because
Yeah.
I did my mother's oil, marijuana oil from Canada Post.
It's the value of the item.
And the post office visits in the concierge, and they sign for it.
Yeah, most post office stuff is fine. There's just certain items. Valuable item or a very fragile or something like that.
And also,
You know,
also write a
you don't
letter
have to
saying,
go there. I mean, if you go there, you don't have to say you went there. You have to tell everybody. For God's sakes, man.
Now checks with the whatever he's doing with it. If they
Ay, caramba. So,
buy from him, he goes somewhere else. Because
Who's shipping the Amazon one?
it's not Canada.
Amazon.
It depends.
Now here's the thing. So Saturday the rally, 100 people plus some other Patriots, plus some stuff from earlier this week, plus Sunday did some filming around the city of what's going on relative to a couple of classic songs, and then today I've got a little bit more sort of as a wrap up. But you can see kind of the spectrums, right, in terms of like, well, less is better than more. Here's why. If more is better than less, here's what happens. And here's what makes everything else impossible. So it's sort of like at that point, it's just sort of, well, no, I can't help it, no problem. Hopefully they can at some point soon, you know. Be cool with people they know, so they get along, and then, you know, they can pay attention to each other and cool. And then, you know, that won't bother strangers. And you'll see it like once a year, you know, or a few times a year with a handful of people who can't be chilled up by mostly polite Canadians because they're just too far gone. And you won't see it quite as often as you do now, which could be once or twice a second. So.
The other possibility is to go to the better.
It's just wrapped up with little bows. Sorry, man. I'll let you go on with the whole thing, but my point is it's sort of wrapped up in a little bow, and I've got you know, a fair bit on that, and that's why I'm kind of at ease with it, because there's a lot of sort of proof among a lot of people that it works and it's fine, and then people can do it themselves, and then they're like, wait a second, you know, we can actually be cool with each other. It's safe to, you know.
Have you checked Canadian Tire?
Canadian Tire handles still on cheap.
Check Canadian Tire. Yeah. And Canadian Tire, they, you can arrange various things. You can pick up the store. I ordered something and we picked it up at the Canadian Tire up there at Davenport and
But with the Amazon, they always tell you the day it's going to be delivered.
Yeah.
So you just think until they deliver.
But they don't have a concierge.
But if you're at home and they press your button,
Yeah.
If they press the button. That's why I warned.
If you're in the shower,
As I said, that's what I said. My
all
nephew
kinds of
ordered
things
something.
could happen.
They,
Huge
they
happen.
came and delivered it, and they just walked in.
Don't even order.
They just walked in.
Yeah.
The building that someone was going in or out.
Well,
And when they got to the door, for whatever reason, they knocked on the wrong door. So of course he didn't hear it. And they just left it in the
enjoy your
hallway.
work day, Jack.
And so they just left it in the hallway.
Well, yes. And I'm also proving in terms of a response that it's not just possible with me. That's the big key with respect to this, in the sense of 100 plus Patriots chilling out in Toronto in the same area, didn't want to act stupid and run away, didn't want to act stupid and be near each other, and didn't want to act stupid and make it hard to be near each other and bother strangers. They just kind of chilled out, and so that's sort of my coup de grace in terms of you know what it is. And I also, by the way, at that rally, had two conversations with two cute little white Antifa girls. One of them was on the other side, and she argued about not wanting borders, and then I said, well, of course, we just want to talk to each other, of course, we just get mad because the other person supposedly had a different point of view. And then another girl, a cute little girl, she's wearing sunglasses and a mask over her face and a gray sweatshirt and black jeans. She saw my manforwars.com sign as well, right? So instead of, we happened to be, me and this other guy, just because we left the group and came back, we were on the wrong side. We were towards the back of the wrong side of the rally. Yeah, so we were originally with these people that were sort of, no, Canada needs borders, we do this, we do, be careful about immigration, we need to be whatever. Yes, I was like, no borders, no justice, no peace, dressed in black, wearing masks. And so we were cool. Me and this other guy, we weren't making a stink or anything. And this girl sidled up right beside me, and she goes, you guys are on the wrong side. But I could tell with her body language she was trying to be friendly, just kind of verbally, sort of challenging, as opposed to, trying to make me put up with her. So I was like, oh, sorry about that. I just honestly am not on either side in the sense of agreeing with everybody. I'd like to connect with people that want to do something better for the country. And so we went back and forth a bit, and then at one point she got into something, and I said, oh, what about that? She said she didn't want to talk. I said, well, man, I can't pressure you. Just put pressure yourself. Be nice. If I'm nice, that's just how I roll. And then she just chilled out next to me, and she was just a cute girl wearing a mask and sunglasses and Antifa style. Clothing or whatever. But she was just a cute little white girl, like in her early 20s. And then, we chatted for a little bit more. And then I think she couldn't hang out too long. She went back to her crew. But it was a couple of fun interactions, as opposed to just acting stupid back and forth.
started to watch Killing Eve last night. James called me. Once you get on the phone, you can't get
Yeah.
you just keep
One of our shows
So I
that we
just
like,
checked it out.
Absolutely, man.
Leslie checked in on it because we were going to miss half of it, so I was able to take the following show.
Live edition of Round or something, or great performances on PBS. We have about 4 of them. And I was
It was
in
a golf
time
meet.
over the weekend. And I wasn't sure how
16
long
minutes
it was
delayed.
so we watched there was one celebrating David Lost, and David Lost is not like there. He's the only person who ever orchestrated stuff about the Streisand and the voice disappeared. So he's not my favorite person, but he had a lot of they were famous. We were sort of honoring him, but he was better or something. So he had all these good.
All right, bye-bye.
After we get feelings now, marriage
And I appreciate the forthrightness. I don't appreciate sort of forthwrongness, I guess. So forthrightness is totally fine because everyone's respect is fine, right? Like questions are fine, clarifying positions are fine, taking different positions, having different opinions, all that's fine. It's when you're forcing someone to put up with you one way or another when it comes to what you're saying, or you're looking for a fight. If you're looking to defend your pride or your point of view, or you're looking to defend your comfort or the comfort of, let's just say somebody walks into a bar or a coffee shop we're from, and they clearly seem like they're from someplace different, but we don't pick up on it, right? It's a source of some confusion, maybe tension, maybe not, depending on how everyone's acting and who's there and so on. But saying, hey, where are you guys from, is perfectly reasonable. Now, you could make it something bad, and they could make it something bad, or you could make it something cool, they could make it something cool. Or, unless, there's some pushing of the issue in a negative way, you could just assume, no, it's fine, it's a perfectly normal question, as opposed to, why do you have to ask that, who are you, what do you think I am, part of this group I represent, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no. If you get into that, then I'll know that, oh yeah, I should think of that. You guys are scum, right? If you just kind of straight up be cool and kind of settle the issue when it comes to a bunch of people who sort of know each other, or are sort of similar, then it's fine. So it happened to me and a bunch of Canadians in Ireland, in Kilkenny, where you kiss the Blarney Stone, or in Blarney, Ireland, where you lean back, kiss the Blarney Stone. No, they killed Kenny. Yeah, no. But we were in an Irish pub, and it was a bunch of us, and I guess we made for a strange group because a few different colors among white people and so on, plus the white people, and the accents are this and that. Plus, it was university competition, so there were people from different parts of the world there, so it wasn't guaranteed you'd be like everyone's the same. Oh, tourists, right? It's like tourists from different countries at the same event, kind of doing some of the same activities outside of that too. So somebody's asked me, hey, where are you from? Into a clipped Irish accent. I was like, oh, we're from Canada. He goes, oh, okay, cool. Like they just kind of shrugged, right? Like these Canadians are cool, polite, who cares? So, but we didn't take that. I could have taken that in a horrible, negative 21st century identity politics kind of way. Why are you saying that? What are you doing? Is it because I'm brown? Is it because you're white? Is it because you people own slaves? Is it because you're racist? Is it because I'm a victim? Is it because... It's like, no, it's fine. It's just, thanks. It's your, you guys hang here more, is whatever. It's just, you don't press it, I won't press it. Yeah, I think being taught to talk normally like that, makes it harder, and you have to compensate, and that makes it harder, and that's kind of where we are. So, I'm happy about that, man. I think we had it right. When we were happy, when kind of the world was cooler, we didn't worry about all these different things or different people. There was just random stuff that was sort of interesting to talk about because it didn't happen that often.
What I like doesn't have a bucket that it has technology that actually evaporates the water. And they do have like a little...
Yes, I have, and I've heard of the play it's about, so I know a little bit about it.
They basically recommend that at the end of the season, you open up the plug and whatever water's in it will come out. So there won't be much.
Sure. It's a Korean thing. You got to understand. Sure.
So we're going for the next treatment on Thursday.
Yeah.
You can always, when you're not
Sure.
paid and Amazon is delivering, you can take a chair and go and sit in the
Well,
They usually say by the end of the day, and it's often afternoon, evening, early evening.
You know, if you do a good job of making your own people funny, then I don't necessarily know if that's racist, right? Like if I write a character that's like, you know, Chris Rock, and that's like, man, I hate black people, but I really hate niggas. They'd be looking at me like, you're a racist. But if Chris Rock does it, he's a genius, right? So,
like if you go to check out, do they give you the option of actually having it delivered on a certain day? Or you want it the very next day or whatever?
yeah.
They charge you for delivery.
No, because it's over 60 bucks or whatever.
I was saying this would normally respect each other, not sort of be the anti-free speech, commie zombie, have to think this way, act this way kind of, you know, thing. Then you're always learning about that stuff, and you're always beating those stereotypes organically just through your experience, right? So if you're like a 16-year-old kid in Louis Armstrong's day, you say, hey, Louis Armstrong, why are you dressed like those white people? Why are you doing this? He's like, listen, I'm not dressing like white people. I've got some black stuff. But I'm dressing like I'm wealthy, I'm an entertainer, I'm making myself somebody you'll like, somebody you'll respect, blah, blah, blah. And it's part of my style. And in terms of, you know, how I flex as a black guy, I think you should have more options than just to be a stereotype, you know, one way or another. And then so the little kid grows up and goes, huh, you know, that's interesting. So if I want to wear a shirt and tie and look good, I can. If I want to wear dashiki or something else, I can. It's like, absolutely. It's like, you know what? I think you're right. So you break those organically. You know, it's not a question of needing to think one way and defending one point of view. If people can respect each other and communicate well, right? Even that girl I was talking about, one of the girls, a skinny white girl, the one without the mask at the protest, she was talking about how she doesn't believe in borders. And then I was making analogies to personal space, you know, home security, you know, a party being cool or having to let people in, and, you know, any territories. And, you know, she was like, you know, wavering a bit in the sense of sort of opening her mind to arguing other possibilities, and then probably accepting that some borders are needed and there's some security for those borders needed, but still opening my mind to the fact that we should be more sympathetic to, you know, people that, you know, want to move.
Because that's what we do. We get wildlife and they are.
And this is tricky as a Canadian, because you know what you have to do, right? You take a shot at the Queen like that, you know, got to bring back his head. But he's so cool, man. He's just, you know, he's everlast. So, I don't know.
Put a letter attached to it. So, listen, you know, I have to answer. I don't appreciate this. I don't know why you sent it to me. See if he gets a response with it.
Right.
He's losing his hair now.
I think they want to keep you from stealing stuff too. Right? So if you steal stuff and you leave the country and then it's hard to find you or bring you back, they kind of want to check when you're leaving if you're stealing stuff. So I'd say that's part of it. Are you stealing missile defense secrets and never coming back? Are you, you know, stealing, did you just do some crime and you're on the lam, right? So I could see a reason for that type of security. Yeah. Yeah. And you see how many broads we have, man? You have to speak in broad strokes sometimes. Come on. You have to know everything, but you have to know something. And so you have to use broad strokes. I'm sorry. Right? Listen, if I get in trouble, at least I'll be able to explain myself in broad strokes. So I'm not saying I won't be in trouble. I'm just saying I'm mitigating the amount of trouble. That's all. Remember, a bad girl is one just standing there with almost no clothes on. A bad guy is really fucking dangerous, man. We have to be a little more responsible, all right? So, like, you know, we have to, you know, we got to be practical about this stuff. Sure, whatever. What's trouble?
Oh, yeah.
Trouble's you're cute. Trouble's I'll stab someone in the face. I mean, what is this trouble business? It's all good. It just need to be managed properly. That's all. Go ahead. Sorry. Generally speaking, obviously. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you guys go to Cranberries this weekend?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, didn't make it hard to travel with this normal stuff for normal people. Like, yeah.
The place of a lockdown usually looks like
Oh no.
it's on weekdays.
That's like business. Business class law.
On weekday it's $16 plus $5 Cuba price.
Yeah.
And on the weekend it's $4.
Right.
Is it worth the extra?
Well, I don't know. There was a hell of a lot of more people.
Okay.
It was about the same. I know.
Sure.
All my attention was going on Friday night. I passed out at 9:30 and
Yeah.
woke up around.
They take a lot more than that, man. That's a big gang. That gang is gangster. 5%? Hey, you running the pizza shop. I want a 5% for Don Corleone. I'll make it 10% everything you make. All right. And how about the government? We'll take 45%. What?
Around 8 o'clock, I figured out for about 2 hours. So I could leave at 11 and come home at 4 in the morning.
How's that?
I used to call it power nap.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying, I think his name is Hans.
Yeah, sometimes you're using broad strokes, sometimes you're not. Got it.
He was in James and Sketchy.
Oh yeah.
You always go to the basics on the
Yeah, I thought about yeah. Depending on what happens, I might call that.
I think you need nice, happy people making better places to live. And if you don't have that, then you won't have people that can positively contribute, right? If you're like, so for example, if you're like one of those left-wing girls and the guys there or whatever, like, no, we're racist, sexist, phobic, everything sucks, turn it all down, communism, blah, 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 right? And if you're on the other side, you may have your own bug up your butt in terms of what's going on. But what about people that were happy here? That's why I kind of point to kind of ourselves, for selfish or practical reasons, kind of old enough to know better, young enough to do better, is that it wasn't constantly difficult to be there and communicate with people about just about anything as opposed to it getting harder and harder to with just about everything. And that plus the general feeling of optimism about the future, as opposed to a general feeling of pessimism about the future, made it easy to discuss this, that, and the other. Because whatever, who cares, right? No, not a specific. Just the idea that we have what it takes and we're cool. And if we look around, we can do the math. We can see that. That I think is the problem, and that's what's not happening today. Where there is that overall sort of passionate pessimism that's being engineered. It's just sort of nihilistic, you know.
I fart in your general direction.
All right.
Okay, I've got the name of that guy, the sales guy. Did I call him now? He didn't leave a message.
Which one? The one that Lisa?
Yeah,
That's a shame.
that's Charlie.
By the way, can she explain that decision? Does she have a lengthy explanation for that decision, or is it just sort of a quietly unsettled, this is what I'm doing, jutting my jaw, you know, and you can't say nothing, you know? Because I think if she had a really good explanation for this that was worked out well and made everybody happy, that'd be one thing. But if it's just sort of a jut in your jaw, don't say anything bad about it, that's a different story, right? No, just from your general interactions in that regard.
It's Peter McDonald. I spoke to you about, or emailed you about checking out from Toronto tomorrow morning. Okay, because we're coming to drop our car off for service. I'm thinking of meeting with you around 9:15. Does that make sense? Is that? Okay, great. See you tomorrow morning. Okay. Great.
That gives us half an hour to eat something.
The other thing relates to the issue, the possibility is that we could go Wednesday afternoon. It's not on the calendar.
No, I think I've got nothing until
Thursday is Sharon, and Friday is here.
Или можно было из разных фильмов наехать?
They didn't mention anything about rules. Yeah.
Должны со своими вместе лететь. Да.
Туда полетели, 2,5 часа бежать, уже в самолете сидели, он не забылся.
Ну так а я, когда с мамой летел в Питер, я тебе говорил, что мы просидели внутри самолета, я тебе рассказывал, что-то вообще там уже свет там был, погасили, все это. Офигеть можно было. Претензии к скажем, ну они говорят, а мы что, вот так же в кругу сидим. А, у нас было, потому что, как сказал этот пилот, что пригнали тележку, которая нас должна была толкнуть маленькую. Для этого самолета она не подходит. Пока пригоняли большую, которая должна была нас толкнуть, ну не 5 часов, не 5 часов, мы, по-моему, на 2 часа позднее летели. Сейчас мы вообще позднее летели.
каждый, они пока каждый не вытащили, не могли добраться до нашего. Это налетели гранты, что говорят, что самая лучшая компания человек моя.
Когда мы бегали из электрозавода, стояли,
It's a recent thing that you know how you want this about finance the lease and we have a promotion for every car right now. It would be a pleasure to have you visit our showroom and let us go over this vehicle and go over the details.
А из аэропорта нас вывели в Гибкин.
Sometimes when we've been there, when we want to be in, there's nobody there.
To some degree, to some degree.
Нет, главная проблема из-за жесткой базари. Он был ломал шасси этими и
Oh, okay. So when I asked you when I looked around it, I didn't know what the red stuff detected. Zero wolf. I had no idea.
I was looking in the window of our car and see something, I was really interested
Во всяком случае, на видео я видел.
Way down.
Там есть люди, которые
Yeah, man. Sorry about that. I might have fiddled with something while I was settling back in. I just stepped out for a sec, but yeah, man. Where was we at with that? Are you there? Where was we at with that? Where was we at with that? I forget. Yeah, where was we at with that?
Bonsai.
It would have to be.
Right.
огонь уже, огонь заблокировал уже и задний, и средний крыло. Если посмотреть, он уже середины крыла. И все,
Well, it makes everything easier, right? But the opposite makes everything harder. So that's why we were starting at the copy thing at the dealership and whatever, and just the overall, even like going to men's rooms in the last few years has been more normal, where you'd have some toilets not flushed. Like that's just that lack of self-respect and lack of respect for anybody else just keeps adding up to the point where it's hard to even be near people. It's because it's so normal not to have that. And that cause, otherwise that solves everything, right? Like, let's just say you're in a bad mood when you leave your house, but it's a nice day. Somebody's like, "Ah, you doing? Nice day, isn't it?" "Oh yeah, sure." You get out of it, right? If people are nicer to each other. Whereas if people aren't, then you get deeper and deeper into whatever funk you have, and you have less and less respect for each other to be able to communicate with each other well, and get out of it. So it just keeps compounding problems from what I can tell, where everything's slipping. You're not exactly sure why, or everything's the same, but you're less happy about it. That's my argument for clearly why. You know, are you keeping track of any of the Trump America stuff? You know, going on there? Trump's America, the fans of Trump and that sort of thing, and what's going on. This sort of parallel American universe inside the sort of mainstream media American universe. So there you go. So they're not going to show it to you much in the mainstream media, but there's a group of like 60 million Americans, a decent size, or 100 million Americans, or whatever it is, 50 to 100 million Americans around there, to varying degrees, that have a very, very different view of the world than the identity politics, constantly worried about what to say, what to do. You know, don't get political, everything's political, don't say anything at all. You know, type universe, and sort of worrying about sort of being comfortable in their own skin or problems, and instead they're just sort of more practical and optimistic, and they don't really focus on those things unless they come up, and if they come up, as long as they're decent people, you just brush past any of the worst stereotypes about it. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, in a nutshell, it's like, hey, you know, the economy's doing great. Who likes good? Who likes money? Everyone's like, yeah, it's all of us. It doesn't. The rest of that stuff doesn't matter, right? It's like, you like good economy, you like jobs, yeah, yeah. How about your tax cut? Oh, yeah, I love it. How about you? Black people, yeah. White people, yeah. Transvestites, yeah. Men, women, yeah. Yeah. Parents, yeah. Single people, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. We all like this stuff, right? And then the other stuff isn't that important if it's nice, happy people in a good mood about the same things, as opposed to people made to worry about sort of organic characteristics in the kind of neo-communist identity politics way, which is more what the left is selling. So on that side, they're aware to some degree of some of the identity politics issues, but because they don't focus on that, they focus on, you know, being nice people. It's like, okay, so, you know, you may be like, you know, if you're a white guy and you're in the Trump world and you meet a black person, right? You might say, because you saw something on Comedy Central, right? It's like, hey, you know, I'm just saying as a stereotype on the extreme end, and how to deal with it versus how to freak out about it, right? As adults. So if you get some white dude who's from a tiny, tiny town in America, you know, no minorities there at all, right? But otherwise seems like a decent guy, right? He watches TV a little bit. He sees on Comedy Central some stereotype about black people, right? And there's a black Trump supporter there, right? And the guy goes, hey, you know, I'm from this tiny town, and I'm an old white guy. Is it true that black people do X, Y, or Z? You know, like fried chicken or whatever. I heard this really funny guy for 6 minutes on a TV show talk about that, right? The black Trump supporter will not act like a liberal and freak out on him unless it seems like there's real racist intent behind that, like unless it's pushed to a degree where it becomes stupid, right? He'll try and do a check and balance on that. It'd be sort of like, well, where did you hear that? It's like, oh, I was watching it on Comedy Central. He goes, yeah, that's true. A lot of us do, you know, but we're a lot more variety to us than that, like everybody. And the guy's like, oh, okay, I get it. And they'll just be friends. You know, like they'll just go, yeah, we're cool. This is what I knew about you. And he goes, you know, is it true, you know, you southern white guys like lemonade? He goes, oh, shit, yeah. You know, we love lemonade. You know, put a little sugar in it on a nice day, woohoo. You know, they just move on to other stuff, right? So the stereotypes aren't used to sort of cripple conversation. They're used to further it. And with us growing up in Scarborough, we remember that shit happening all the time. Like, you know, curiosity beats ignorance, figured out how to fight. Like, we just have to sort of ask these questions. And you try and do it in a good-natured way, like you're not threatened by something, and so you're amused by it. You're not reverential and careful or whatever. You're sort of like, you know, why do you guys do your hair like that? You know? And I find it a little weird, but I find it interesting. I find it curious. I don't hate it. I don't hate you because of it. Not yet. You make a big stink, I will. But just let me know. And it's like, all right, well, here. So respect that. Fine. You know?
I think I told you the Murano, which is 1.9 for 6 miles. Horsepower is 175.
Mm-hmm.
So about 568 a month.
At
Remember when you could talk about that and say stuff like that that was semi-allegorical or metaphorical and not have to A, worry about it, and B, after you worry about it, pledge allegiance to it. That's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, the cash price is about 50. So yeah.
I remember. Yeah. I haven't heard that name in a while. I'm just picturing the store and the logo right now. Yeah, the one across from Centenary Hospital, I think. That's what I'm picturing. Centenary? Scarborough General? Yes. Right. Right.
So you're paying 4,000.
Right.
Because the car itself
Well, that was quick. I was stuck, and then all of a sudden I was banging the
You may have had some fish stuff going on.
okay.
the car.
The car
Sure.
itself,
Octopus. Absolutely.
around 30. Yeah, it's quite a bit. The monthly payments are $395. But 0%.
Right. Well, and this is the nationalism versus globalism thing that's at the heart of this, in terms of sort of practically thinking about things and acting on things as part of that when it comes to kind of what you believe, how you feel, what you share, and so on. Is that we're being told to focus on dividing elements and have those define kind of who we are, how we think about ourselves, other people, what we say, and all of that is making it harder to discuss. And if it ever comes up, it's not like we've been given all these tools to make it easier. We've been given all these tools to make it harder, when we can put it in context with more kind of uniting elements against some things that are dividing us, like people behind these ideas, in the broader sense, and kind of in broad strokes to say no, it makes it a lot harder, to get along. This obsession with different things and valuing different things differently based on sort of increasing victimization and increasing demonization of people, potentially victimizing. So it just makes it harder. You think, as you're a feminist professor, Ah, you must be so, understanding what women want and get along great with me. I'm a guy. It's all good. It's a privilege to meet a professional chick, man. This is great, man. You must be the best at it. It's like, no, it's not true. But but if I meet a girl who's going to be a girl, I'm super happy about it. So, and it's not that chick probably. So.
It's like the place one we have that is better than which is the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Nice.
He has to get off from that stall.
I did, yes.
Thanks so much.
A weirdly chaotic and yet I find smooth listen.
So Alan sent me an email, 9 a.m.
Okay, so I have to go to the drugstore and then my dog is
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
On that show with the extended chunks, there is a certain controlled rhythm to it, and a diffusing element to it, as opposed to in another environment where it might seem too threatening. So it becomes, like the loud guy at the party that goes woohoo once in a while. It's like, well, yeah, if it happens once in a while, it happens once in a while. So yeah, I agree. With the larger segments, it becomes less of a jarring thing and more of a, that's just part of the energy of the show that was, at a decent level. So an engaging level.
they will send out the amount, which is alive and good. So
Somebody did.
don't worry about them completely.
Right. Yeah.
So they'll reissue it and I'm picking up the bank on Wednesday. Now I got my position as well. So the bank may have sent it. Or it's something I don't know.
Or it's a summons.
No, I think they have to contact
It's from the bank or you just don't know?
I don't know.
Oh,
Well, I don't know.
maybe it's
It's an envelope.
asking you to do jury duty.
Yeah. Hey, you're more than free.
Fire it out.
Good for you.
I'm not even on Schwartz.
Через интеллектных моих. Прошлый четверг. Дочь пошли на службу. Я смотрю, у нас на газоне между мной и собачкой шинку. Так, взял его, развернул и купил. Ее не помню.
I like it when that equivocation is fact-filled and empathetic and informative. It's when it's a false equivocation, well, there's this and that, then I have an issue. But I think the way he did it is the way you're saying it, the way I think I saw it, was he did a pretty good job saying some details and sounding like he actually meant it. And it was sort of a tortured decision as opposed to escaping from the conversation decision. You know what I mean? Yeah.
ему звоню,
Yeah.
опять же, как проблема была даже в долге, проблема, что не листает. И ничего не
Well, I think Joe, with his, being a pro podcaster and being a guy who, has that type of influence with, in the entertainment world and in his own circles of friends, thinks that he can always be a check and balance on somebody who's not too unbalanced. So with Jones, I think Jones will be like pushing to, this stuff, you say you don't, you this and that. And he's like, whatever, man, I'm a stand-up comic, I'm cool, don't, keep pushing it, there's nowhere to take it, you know what I mean? And so... Well, and there's a different dynamic in terms of where are you, in terms of what are you pushing is sort of important to say, important to make a note of, important to sort of clarify when it comes to opinion and positions. So on Jones' own show, he'll be like, no, that's not what we do here. We go this far. We talk about this. Whereas on Rogan, he'll be like, nah, it's fine, whatever, So... Well, yeah. Yeah, it would sound like you're ratting him out, but if it's in his own house, then it seems like you have that type of relationship where you can bring up some controversial issues and show how you kind of deal with them to show you're cool with each other. So you can bring up something like that. I think that's a little crazy. It might be true, obviously. And basically, I think sometimes if you let something slip that you shouldn't, and then you get called a liar, because you shouldn't let that slip, and you got to cover it up, then you feel pissed off about being called a liar, so you try and double down on the slip. You know what I mean? Like even Eminem saying he banged Mariah Carey. Like, he shouldn't say that if he did, but then if he did, and then either other people call him a liar or she calls him a liar, then he'll go crazy. I'm not a liar. I did bang you. It's like, you shouldn't be saying that in the first place. So that's why, keep it on the low. But once you let it slip, and then people say you're lying, then you got to double down. That's when it's just more crap. So I think something like that may have happened to some degree, there.
пока не приезжают, они хотят
Кому ты можешь переводить? На базе.
на базе. А база у тебя одна, да? Потому что я читал, что
Каждая база отдельно.
ты можешь посмотреть на
Зайди на аккаунт.
да, по-моему, да.
Аккаунт. Для 5-6 камер оно фри.
Вот, потом я разговаривал сейчас
Right. Yeah, I think he said something like that. Yes, I do remember that. That was quite weird. That was very, very weird. Yeah.
Да, тоже нет. Надо такой же абсолютно числа. Да. И оно тоже включается в систему и подсветка ночи. Да, да, да. Оно сразу включается.
Но все равно я сам читал
that was an insane story. That was a completely insane story. Yeah. I think generally speaking, though, yes. But generally speaking, when something like that comes up, there's two options. One is clarification, as you're suggesting. Another one, though, is just moving the hell on, right? Like, you're right. You can certainly get into that more and maybe get some more out of it. But you can also just get the hell out of it, right? Like, okay, so let's just say all that happened. Now, let's get on to something else. This is like the regular thing they did? This is like every time? Oh, wow. That's insane. Look, there's a lot of things you have to say about that based on anything you say about that. So the conversation just gets kind of muddy, right? Like if Jones goes, I think I could handle it. I turned out great. I got my own business empire. I got beautiful kids. I got a first marriage that was pretty good. Then it fell apart. Now I have a second marriage that's really good. And, and I've got 100 employees and I'm changing the world. And it's like, okay, so you can say that about yourself. Then you can't say, but, you also have to say, but I think it's bad in general. I'd never want that to happen to anyone else in the world. Like, it becomes just a big mess of a conversation at times, depending on, Right. This is what happened with Milo Yiannopoulos. Have you heard of him? okay, he's a gay British Jewish sort of right-winger conservative elf, in the sense that he's funny. He pokes a lot of fun at things. He's banned from a lot of platforms. A lot of the young people love him, and he's a genuinely smart, interesting, thought-provoking guy. Not the definitive tone, but somebody that opens up a lot of interesting questions and has a few pretty good answers too, right? And sort of does it in a comedic, cheeky kind of way, sarcastic way, using his identity politics to beat identity politics in a way, right? Yeah, and he's got a British accent. He's a bit endearingly foppish as opposed to annoyingly foppish. Although you can, if you're going to do that, you can screw up here and there. But the point is that yeah, if they're not going to be stoic, then go for that. Just bring something on. And so, but he basically was on a podcast after a bunch of drinks, and this is what really destroyed his career, in the sense that this little snippet gave what the mass media wanted to try and destroy his career, right? Like, write bad things about him, put bad things on TV about him, if you talk about him at all, and have the ammo to pressure platforms that are dropping him, advertisers that are not supporting him, people that are not liking him. Like, this is what did it, is he was on a podcast talking about, as a young boy, I think he was 14 or so, he had an experience with an older guy who was maybe 20-something, and he was saying for himself that he was cool with it, but, he was also trying to say that, it's something that's cool, but he wouldn't recommend it. But so he was defending himself, and then, in terms of his, like, I'm not all screwed up right now, don't look at me like I'm a victim, don't think that this is just sort of what happened in my life, how I kind of got introduced. And but then later on he had to come out and apologize for not being more clear on it late in a podcast after a few drinks, when he's done a bunch of interviews and blah blah blah. So and so even though he apologized for it and clarified, and it was just something that came out that, upon a little bit of reflection, was the wrong way to speak about that most authoritatively in broad strokes, right, for broads and everybody else, right? And so, but he also didn't want to come across as suddenly making it all dark, like he's a victim who was awful either. So what I'm saying is that that's a dangerous road to travel down, period. These days, if you say, what do you say? If you say you lost your virginity as a young or middle teenager, you'd say, it ruined my life, I know what I'm supposed to say, I'm supposed to say it'll ruin yours, don't do it, no one should be fine with it. Or say, no, it wasn't that bad for me, it was consensual, and we were just, being probably stupid for our age, but, it's fine, I didn't get into it too much and get out of it. And, like, there's different ways of looking at it, Never the best thing, and so I discourage it, but if it happened to happen and it wasn't that bad, then, make peace with that and have that be something that certain people could say while consistently advocating, never a good idea. Well, and weaponized, because they can do one of two things with it. So, for example, Roseanne Barr had a relaunch of her show, which was a huge hit fairly recently. Then she sent one tweet, and she was a bit more conservative in her leanings, than she used to be. So Hollywood was already wary of that. But she sent one tweet comparing Valerie Jarrett, sort of an evil bureaucrat lady, and she said, what if a Muslim and a monkey had a baby? That's what Valerie Jarrett would look like, from Planet of the Apes, right? And she literally kind of physically does, but that's still a really bad thing to say, right? And so she lost her show over that. She had to apologize. She groveled. She said she was on different prescription drugs because she was this and that. And even though she technically, Valerie Jarrett, if you look at her, she technically looks like people from the movie Planet of the Apes. So not apes from a modern jungle or zoo, but from the way they designed them to be sort of humanish in that movie, she literally physically looks like that, right? And if you were to say that in a very... So you've seen her, there you go. So, but that was wrong, and she, whatever, and so, but she lost her show, and the media attacked her, and they constantly keep her down for that one tweet, right? So just yesterday, I think in my subscriptions, or yesterday or the day before, just in the last couple of days, Roseanne's son came out and said, you know what, I'm sick of this. That happened a while ago. Mom apologized, and she's otherwise lived a pretty good life, and a lot of people like her. And here's what I'm going to do. And Roseanne's son read tweets from James Edmonds. He is the director of Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, and he wasn't working on Part 3 after some controversy. And after that controversy, Disney and the studios brought him back because the cast supported him, Hollywood supported him, the media didn't attack him too much, generally supported him. And he had a bunch of tweets about liking pedophilia. Yeah, he's like, I like it when little boys touch me in my funny place. You know, I like it when, oh, you sent me a video of underage girls, you know, dancing. I came on my face. He's talking all these tweets, not just one, like, you know, maybe a couple of dozen tweets about liking pedophiles, right? And so they came out, you know, he was the current director of Guardians of the Galaxy, but then that controversy, scandal happened, so they kicked him off it. Then they waited for the hubbub to die down. The liberal media didn't feel like attacking him. The conservative media still does, but you know, for their audience, they typically just hired him back on, and the cast says they support him. And it's not like they have some detailed defense and description of what he did and why it's okay. They just sort of gloss over it and say he's a good guy, you know, just because he tweeted a couple of things wrong, like, you know, no big deal, you know. And it's like 25 of those and nothing, and they're about pedophilia. And he's hired back by Disney and to direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Whereas Roseanne has one tweet, and boom, over, out. Can't work in Hollywood anymore. And hers wasn't about pedophilia. It was about something worse than that. It was a bit racist, a bit, you know, whatever. But it wasn't even like she is a racist. She was just being... She was definitely being anti-Islamic or Islamic takeover. But she wasn't nuancing it well on Twitter. In the sense of not all I could get along with, but the ones that want to change everything, no, blah, blah, all that stuff. And when it comes to the movie Planet of the Apes, she got the physical description right, but in a tweet, it's too easy to sort of misinterpret. So, but my point is that it wasn't the right thing to do, but one of those compared to 25 about pedophilia, and he's allowed to work in Hollywood. Well, the double standard is, I think, my point. Like, they should both be punished. They should both be punished to some degree. But because James Gunn advocates a lot of liberal stuff and is a Hollywood director, and they're like, well, you know what? We wanted to make the movie make $1 billion, so we'll hire him back. And you know, it's just what do you? It's just that's the insane part. Well, okay, so when should dissociation or disassociation happen then, with respect to that? Because there has to be some disassociative point, right? They'd be like, well, they're just using words. They didn't threaten specific violence or whatever, so it's just words. But at some point, there's some words that will, you know, depending on the context, of course, that will cause some dissociation. So if you're watching Sam Kinison at a concert or on the comedian on YouTube or whatever, it's like, wow, that is awesome, that is hilarious. If you just see him right in front of you, you might think this guy's insane. Like I have to dissociate, you know. Yeah. Yeah, and so you're right, but again, it's all about what is the context and where is that line, and I. Well, especially as a public figure or in entertainment, in association with people, I think there is some sort of responsibility to not, do things that could make the organization or company look bad. So if you're a member of a Toronto sports team, right, there are things you shouldn't do in public because you'll make the sports team look bad, or if you're part of a company and so on. So I think there is some value in association. It's just sort of what is reasonable and what is not. Yeah. Sure. Sure. Yeah. And I think that that's a fundamental weakness of the medium too. I was talking to some Patriot guys about it the other day in terms of social media's impact, and we can all sort of theorize this based on a casual understanding of it. And that is, they're not real ways of expressing yourself with other people, in the sense that you come to a conclusion. Like, you typically don't go back and forth like in emails or chats. They're more like just sort of self-contained kind of bitchy statements, as opposed to you going, man, I think this sucks. And me going, oh, really? Why is that? And you go, well, this, that, and the other. I was like, well, you might be right about this, but, have you thought about this? And you're like, well, I don't, however you felt about it would be improved, even if, your position on it may have, evolved a bit, but not really changed that much. And on social media, you're just encouraged to sort of put it out there as is. You know what I'm saying? Well, I think there was a lot of information about it. Like over the last few years, we've all kind of heard of it. I think there's just less appetite, possibly intolerance for, or maybe the ability to discuss, that information and everything else. Because I'll say this: when you say we're not sure, I'm also framing that against the background of a fair amount of mainstream media coverage in the last few years, tapering off more recently, but of studies say social media does X. Studies say social media does Y. Studies say social media does Z. So to go from a sort of general knowledge of that to a general knowledge of who knows is, to me, sort of brainwashing. Well, okay, so you could say confused or brainwashed, whatever. My point is, it's wrong, and it's the wrong interpretation, because it's the absence of knowledge that you had that was useful and valuable, and true, and that is, no, we can say who knows what this is doing, or we can also say no, there was a bunch of news stories where we found out right, or we had some evidence of some of what was happening, and we could kind of make peace with that, follow up with that, or use that to help inform the way we think about it now. But to just say who knows is, to me, more fashionable brainwashing than it is sort of people not thinking, or maybe people have forgotten. I don't remember them all. But there were, do you remember, because I mean, maybe I've seen more of the stuff than you have, but do you remember stories about impacts of social media on adults or kids, or causing depression, likes, dislikes, just seeing the best version of people's life and comparing it to your sort of day-to-day stuff? Like, have you heard of any of that stuff in the last few years? So that's what I mean. Like, there is that memory in your head of, like, I have encountered some of that stuff. Not that it's been everywhere, not that it's been a lot recently, but it's there. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I have my major concerns about just the nature of social media being less of adults who communicate with each other and get each other to evolve what would initially be a tweet, and because that's more of what we would do. Like you and I having a discussion, right? Like if you come to me and you're all worked up about X, Y, or Z, doesn't matter what it is, right? Work, family, the world, this, that. That wouldn't be a self-contained statement that you just kind of put out there. That would be something you share with me, your opening tweet in a verbal conversation, and then I would, go back and forth with you. And by the end of working out what that tweet is, you would be less of a mess about it, right? Now I think the inclination is to just go, I'm a mess about this, blah, right? It's like, Game of Thrones tonight sucked. This ruined my whole day. Wah, I was waiting for this cry face emoji. Like, that is opposed to working through what that is with other people. Right. Right. I think so, and I think it's sort of devolved into a self-contained thought that people are supposed to not go back and forth with, but maybe go on about, right? So it's sort of people near each other about something as opposed to discussing with each other to improve that something, right? I remember times at my radio show a few years ago where I was talking about why is it find us on Twitter at, find us on Twitter at, find us on Twitter at. Like that became what everybody settled on. You know, all the big companies, all the media, all the personalities, everyone's like, find me on Twitter. So why is that the one that they're all choosing, right? That's part of it. Right. Well, it's meant to be a reflection of a poll that was taken, you know, through that medium. So they'll say, what are you, what are people just like you watching this thinking about, looking at, you know, sharing or whatever. So, but, you know, a lot of that's controlled to the point where, you know, they control what we think we like, and then it doesn't make us happy, as opposed to it actually being, you know, some accurate metric of what people actually like, right? So it becomes a self-fulfilling, you know, weakening prophecy. It's like, hey, we all like girls with shaved heads and face tattoos and giant nose rings, you know, like a bull, you know, being pulled, right? And girls go, it doesn't make them happy, doesn't make us happy, but if they put it on Twitter as a trending thing, then we all say we have to subscribe to it, and like it, we can't kind of speak freely and respect each other and all that, then it becomes, we just have to eat that shit, right? Like, what else can you do? Like, can you talk about how things are stupid these days? Like, we used to do that, I think, more comfortably. Like you talked about going to a movie, how is it, should I see it? Sort of yes is the answer, as opposed to getting into it more, Broad strokes. Sure. This is what I mean about the phenomena of social media as well, right? Like, social media is talking about or around what someone said, as opposed to to someone and about what they said. So it's less of a nuanced back and forth. It's more of a this tweet's there, and you're saying stuff parallel to that tweet, as opposed to, or even comments on message boards sometimes. Like, there is some back and forth that happens. I'm not saying it doesn't happen at all, but it's not the default of the media. Like, or a YouTube video, it's like people commenting beside each other as opposed to really addressing each other well. It happens, but what you're leaning towards is, or Instagram, where it's like, hey, I'm Kim Kardashian, buy this makeup, or look at me in this, and it's a bunch of people kind of yelling beside each other, as opposed to talking with each other about what each other's saying. I think it should mitigate it somewhat. I think it should mitigate interest, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do it at all, but it should mitigate interest. It should mitigate feelings about involvement, emotional, mental involvement in, and it should encourage more of that back and forth as a way of compensating. So I think there should be some changes that manifest more through understanding than sort of mandation. Right. Yeah. Right. 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 Mm-hmm.